From wanting people to exclaim, "What a burger!" after trying out his giant-sized burgers, Harmon Dobson's Whataburger grew from a small burger stand in Texas to having 900 restaurants as of 2022. The company moved from making burgers to making pancake mix, sausages, hickory smoked bacon, and unique ketchup. But the journey of Whataburger's success wasn't a smooth one. It was fraught with conflict and loss. This is the history of Whataburger and the story of how it became what it is against all odds. Harmon Dobson, the man widely known as the founder of Whataburger, was born in 1913 in Wayne, Oklahoma. He was raised on a small cattle farm in Cushman, Arkansas, and he grew up assisting his parents to work on the farm. When he turned 16, the University of Missouri accepted him and he began to study journalism. But life had other plans for him. The Great Depression began and his family suffered a devastating crisis. He shelved his dream of tertiary education in favor of returning home and helping his family in their trying times. Fortunately, the family's luck turned, but Dobson didn't return to college to complete his journalism degree. Instead, he chose to explore the world, and this would turn out to be the best decision he ever made, even if he didn't know it yet. During his travels, Dobson worked as an ironworker's apprentice in 1934. This skill served him when he got a shipbuilding job at the beginning of the Second World War. His ironwork took him out of the United States and to North Africa, where he did pipe lifting in a scrapyard in 1942. But change beckoned. Soon, Dobson began to rig telephone cables for Bell Telephone Company, and the Navy hired him to help build tanks, radio towers, and hangars. Harmon traveled to Bahrain after completing some work on Egypt's Suez Canal. In Bahrain, he helped build a refinery and was also in charge of building a mess hall. It was there he got exposed to food service, as the mess hall he built served more than 750 meals a day. This experience would later be the inspiration for his mega success. After his travels, Dobson returned to his native Arkansas in 1945 after the Second World War ended. There, a business idea struck him, and he began to buy used cars to sell to soldiers who were just coming back from the war. Dobson's car business was a hit. With his successful car business, Dobson looked for his next venture to conquer. He got a quarry, and from the profit he made, he expanded his car business to include trucks. Afterward, he began to prospect for oil. With his many businesses, Dobson needed a way to get his businesses faster, so he learned how to fly a plane and got a pilot's license. If only he knew what the flying would cost him in the future. Business took Dobson to Texas as he tried to expand his oil interests, but there, he got an idea to try something else. Harmon Dobson is the name everyone associates with the brilliance that is Whataburger. But he wasn't the only one involved in the creation. As you've learned, Harmon Dobson wasn't a chef, so he couldn't have been cooking all those burgers himself. He initially had a partner, Paul Burton, who was more experienced in making burgers. Burton wanted to open a hamburger restaurant, and Dobson, who was an entrepreneur, was not only willing to invest, but had a few ideas. Enjoying the video? Like and subscribe to the channel for more. Dobson's idea was to revolutionize the hamburger image and create a hamburger that the eater would need two hands to eat. The major fast food seller in Texas at the time, White Castle, only sold tiny burgers, and Dobson wanted to be different. He wanted a burger that customers would sink their teeth in and exclaim, "What a burger!" And he and his partner did just that. Picking a strategic position in Corpus Christi, Dobson and his partners began to sell burgers, but there was a problem. With their big 5-inch bun, fresh beef patties, 4 pickles, lettuce, 3 tomato slices, onions, and mustards, their burgers were relatively expensive at 25 cents. But the pair felt more confident when they sold 551 burgers on opening day. However, the coast wasn't clear yet, and conflict loomed. Dobson and Burton discovered they weren't making profits with the price they sold their burgers. As a businessman and someone not afraid of risks, Dobson's instincts was that they should increase the price of their burgers from 25 cents to 30 cents. Dobson also had expansion plans drawn out. However, Burton disagreed, and it got to a point where their relationship fractured. The two decided to part ways with Dobson buying out Burton. It now remained how Dobson would convince his customers to pay for his expensive burgers. He found a way. It was an approach so sincere that even the customers didn't resist. The man hung up a sign at his joint that said, "Folks, we priced our burgers too low and lost our shirt. Sorry, but we gotta raise the price to 30 cents. Customers loved the honesty, and business continued to boom. Soon, Dobson began to look for new locations to expand as he flew over potential locations in his plane. In 1952, he got his first franchise owner, Joe Adams, who was surprised by the number of customers he was getting. The astute businessman changed strategies and began to choose work with family franchise owners who he believed were more dedicated. Then, he wanted a family of his own. He met Grace Williamson and his life was about to become more memorable. The couple found love in each other and they got married to each other in 1955. Grace was a widow and had a child, Tom, whom Hobson adopted. The couple would have 2 children of their own. Dobson opened more locations, having stores in Tennessee and Florida. He created the iconic A-frame buildings, which was an idea inspired by how airplane hangars looked. But the buildings weren't just for beauty, they were also to be functional, as Dobson thought the shape made them hurricane resistant. He thought wrong, and you'll see why. He also chose the orange and white colors for his stores so he could identify them when he was flying in his plane. Hobson began to expand the menu of Whataburger as they opened more locations. Now, Whataburger began to sell fries and hot pies. The company opened a new store in Arizona and things could only get better. Except it didn't. The Hobson family suffered a tragedy. Hobson died. In 1967, Hobson crashed his plane and his life was snuffed out. The businesses he so much cherished was in danger. The buck fell on Hobson's wife, Grace, or Lady Grace, as she was fondly called, to manage the business. But it wasn't going to be easy. People felt with her young children. Grace wouldn't be able to properly run the business and it would be better if she sold the business. However, Grace put her foot down. She insisted that she was not going to sell the business, not when her husband wanted to keep it in the family. She took charge and became the chairman of the board in 1969. Her reign was the one that took the company to greater heights. Whataburger had its first drive-thru in 1971, and from having 40 stores before Hobson died, Whataburger had 100 restaurants by 1972. The 80s continued the giant strides they continued to record. Whataburger opened the 300th restaurant in 1980 and also opened 24-hour service in 3 Corpus Christi restaurants. The menu grew even further with the inclusion of Whata chicken sandwich, breakfast on a bun, and breakfast taquitos. Unfortunately, adding so much so fast caused the company to lose focus and its momentum got affected. However, they weren't affected for long. By 1987, they already had their 400th store, but they closed down operations in California. After decades-long success under the leadership of Lady Grace, her son and Harmon's adopted son, Tom, became the CEO in 1993. His appointment was a masterstroke as not only did he steady the ship, but he ensured its continued growth as the company had its 500th store by 1995. Also, Tom expanded the company's menu and oversaw the opening of its biggest store ever, Whataburger by the Bay at Corpus Christi. By passing 500 stores, Whataburger became the 8th largest restaurant chain, and Texas proclaimed Whataburger as a Texas treasure. The company repaid the honor by continuing to partner with Texan businesses. The company suffered another tragedy in 2005 as its matriarch, Lady Grace, passed away, but they powered on until 2008. In 2008, Hurricane Ike raged, destroying properties along the Texas coast. The company had no other choice than to move its headquarters to San Antonio. Their expansion continued, and in 2011, the company had 728 stores across 10 states. However, in 2019, the company decided that it was time for a change. Moving away from the family principles that Hobson and his wife held dear, the family decided to sell Whataburger to BDT Capital, an investment company based in Chicago. The family claimed they sold the business because they wanted to expand even further. They retained a minor stake in the company, and with a revenue of $2.698 billion, their decision to sell looked to be the best idea. Whataburger has come a long way from just being a burger stand at Corpus Christi to becoming one of the largest food businesses in America. They've had their share of ups and downs, but through it all, they persevered and held on to reach new heights never at all thought possible. But should they have sold the business or should they have kept it in the family? Tell us what you think in the comments. Remember, like and subscribe to our channel for even more interesting videos.